Hello everyone, welcome to What If Deku Had OP Lightning Quirk and Becomes Badass Cook movie. Before we start, please go support Zeus935 for writing that awesome fanfic. Izuku Midoriya has a very powerful quirk. It allows him to control lightning and anything related to it. It also lets his body grow strong to insane amounts that it's on par with All Might at its lowest. However, he doesn't like using it or like being a hero because they took his father for something he didn't do, and he also just loves cooking. Plain. Plain simple, and ineffective to it being powerful. His mom grew worried and told him not to tell anybody. But what if he applies for the wrong school by accident and changes it, but his name is already in the system, and when he doesn't show up, the heroes take notice and go to his house to find out what happened. Quirked. No one's POV. Izuku was 4 years old at the moment, learning how to cook from his mom when the clock hit 9 a.m. and Inko turned to her son. "Okay, Izuku, it's time to get ready to learn your quirk today," she said in a smiley tone. Izuku smiled and went to get ready. When he entered his room, it was a basic room. No hero stuff, no action figure, no posters, no limited edition stuff, just a normal room. Why, you may ask? Because heroes took his father for something he didn't do and was framed. Then 3 days later he was murdered in prison. He knew that the heroes were just doing what they were told about the evidence. So he didn't hate them, but he wasn't too fond of them either, so he was just neutral. Anyways, he got ready and went downstairs where he saw his mom getting ready too. She looked at him and smiled. "You ready, Izuku?" Inko asked. Izuku nodded and they heard out. They got in the car, which was a white Ford, and they drove to the hospital to see the quirk doctor. Time skip. When they got to the doctor ran some tests on Izuku, like X-rays, blood samples and some other weird tests. Anyways, when they were done, Izuku and Inko were waiting for the results. That's when the nurse appeared. "Midoriya family?" she asked. Inko and Izuku stood up. The nurse nodded and said, "Follow me," and with that she walked away with the Midoriya duo in a tow. When they got to the office, the duo sat down and the doctor looked up from the documents and smiled. "I'm guessing you want to know the results?" he asked, smiling. They nodded and he picked up a document. "Anyways, your son has quite the quirk there." Cue the inner sigh of relief that he got a quirk from Inko. "It seems he has an emitter-type quirk, also a mutant," he said. This got curious looks from both of the Midoriyas. He looked at them and continued. "The emitter side seems to have a connection to lightning, like literal lightning, so he can use it anyways he wants, and anything connected to lightning seems to have a positive reaction with it. So if you train it, you can control the elements connected to it," he said, which got surprised looks from both the Midoriyas. "Now for the mutant side of the quirk, it seems to increase anything you have, but for some reason it's like the strength is from inside but it doesn't show, like an emitter quirk but not," he said with a confused look. Both Midoriyas were happy. Well, Inko was. Izuku doesn't want to be a hero, so he didn't want a cool quirk, just a normal one. So he was annoyed. "Okay, thank you, doctor," Inko said kindly, then left with Izuku. While the doctor was stupefied, he thought the kid would yell or do something about such a cool quirk, but he looked annoyed and didn't even mention being a hero, so he grew worried but decided to drop it. Meanwhile, the two Midoriyas were on their way back when Inko said, "Izuku, I want you to not tell anybody about this, okay? Just say you're quirkless, please." She was cut off by him just saying, "It's okay, Mom. I don't really want to show off any powers or be a hero. I just want to be a chef like Dad," he said, which made his mother smile. "Okay, baby, whatever you say," she said as they got to the house/restaurant, had lunch and a cooking lesson, then dinner, then fell asleep. Time skipped to next day. As Izuku was in the classroom writing up a new menu item he was thinking of while eating his bento that his mom made, then came Bakugo, who was a little pissed that the worthless Deku was ignoring him. "Oi Deku, what's your quirk?" he asked/demanded. Izuku looked up at him and just shrugged and kept writing on his book. "Oh, what's this? You don't know? So that means you are a worthless bastard, since it basically quirkless. And what are you doing? Writing down hero ideas? Well, stop it, you don't get in my way, you hear me?" he asked in an angry tone. Izuku looked up at him boredly. "Sure, why not? I never said I wanted to be a hero anyways, plus this is a new recipe I'm whipping up with my mom," Izuku said with a shrug. Everyone in the classroom froze. Every kid. And they mean every kid wants to be a hero, and to see one that isn't even interested is weird. Then the bell signaled the end of the day. "Well, see you later," Izuku said, grabbing his backpack and running out of the classroom, leaving a dumbfounded classroom, and a slightly sad Bakugo but majorly angry that he doesn't even want to be a hero, and it looks like he doesn't even want to be his friend. When Izuku got home, he said hi to his mom and they began the cooking lesson. While making food with his mom and serving customers who came daily, the Bakugo family came into the restaurant, and Inko saw this and went up to them while Izuku was cooking. "Mizuki, it's been a while. How have you been?" Inko asked. Mizuki turned to her and smiled at her best friend. "I've been great. How's little Izuku?" She asked, a bit worried since she heard from Bakugo that he doesn't want to be a hero. "He's been great. He's cooking at the moment. How about Katsuki?" she asked while Katsuki is busy glaring at Izuku, while said boy is busy serving customers. "He's been great. He got his quirk already. How about yours?" she said with a bit of pride. Inko smiled at her. "Mine has his too, but he doesn't want to show it to others except me," she said. This made the Bakugos freeze because Katsuki told them that he was quirkless. "Why?" Mizuki asked. Inko smiled and said, "Because he wants to be a chef like his dad and he doesn't see the reason why he needs to show it." Katsuki was frozen in place. He couldn't believe that the kid who he thought was quirkless had a quirk and didn't like showing it, or he didn't want to show it to him. Finally the Bakugos ate and left. Then the restaurant closed finally and the midoriyas went to sleep. The cook. No one's POV. 8 years later. Izuku has been training day in and day out in cooking, his quirk, martial arts, and physical training. His lowest strength is a little bit under All Might and his highest is him using his quirk and being above All Might. He knows almost all very martial art. He can control rainstorms, fire, thunderclaps, electricity and things. Control people nerves and sometimes minds, can stop time a bit for like a minute. That's his longest time. Also he can go one-on-one in a cook-off against the world's greatest cooks and sometimes win. In school people have tried to bully him, but he just ignored them. He stopped talking to Bakugo after he gave him a huge scar on his back just because he was mad at him for not wanting to be a hero. The teachers don't care about him, and he doesn't care back. Right now Izuku was in class listening to music with his beats solos, listening to the new Polo G album when the teacher came in. He didn't pay attention to him since he was talking about their futures, which he already knows what he wants to be. And then everyone just turns to him and some were laughing, well, almost all of them, but that doesn't matter. So he pauses his music and takes off his headphones. "Why are you all staring at me?" he asked them. Suddenly he hears Deku, a certain Pomeranian, yells. He dodges the attack while Bakugo is there glaring. "How could a quirkless like you want enter a hero school, huh?" he asks. Izuku stares at him confused as it can be. "What are you talking about? I'm not going to any hero school," he said, confusing everyone in the process. Then the teacher spoke up. "Oh yeah, it says here you're going to UA," he said. Izuku stands up and takes the paper, then after a minute he facepalms himself. No wonder the test was so that hard and not about cooking, he mutters, which surprised the teacher. He turns to the class and says, "My bad, I think I chose the wrong school. I wanted to go to IA. Cooking school, I guess they were close together," he says, scratching the back of his head. People stared at him with a dumbfounded face because they thought he wanted to be a hero. Wait, you don't want to be a hero?" one of the female students said. He looked at her and said nope, and sat back down, and put his headphones on and listened to music, leaving a dumbfounded class and a stupefied Bakugo since he forgot about the moment at the restaurant, thinking that he just didn't have a quirk and just wanted his mom to lie for him. At the end of the day Izuku grabbed his stuff and quickly left, but found out that the road was closed, so he took another route. When he was walking he felt something moving through the vibrations in the earth. He turned around to see a giant sludge. "Oh, a nice meat shield, you'll do very nice indeed," it said, charging at him. But was at that moment it splattered all over the wall from a massive shockwave. On Izuku's side he had his beats down, and his hand flicked to the right, which ironically was his right hand. With a bored expression, he sighed and picked up a nearby canteen and scooped up the goo. After 20 minutes of finally picking it up with the eyeballs, Izuku shuddered at the eyeballs. When out of nowhere All Might appeared, Izuku panicked, so he threw the bottle to him and vanished. When the bottle was caught by All Might, he was shocked that the villain he was chasing was thrown to him in the bottle. Who could have done this? He asked himself before jumping away. After a while he landed on a roof and poofed, and a skinny man appeared as he coughed up blood. This man was Toshinori Yagi, All Might's real name. Anyways, as he was walking downstairs, he noticed the villain was gone, and then he heard an explosion. Oh no, is what he thought before running to the source. Meanwhile, Izuku was walking home after dealing with the sludge thingy when he heard an explosion. He turned to it curious for some reason. He walked towards it. Once he got there, he saw the sludge thing he beat and gave to All Might, and then he saw Bakugo in him. He saw the heroes doing nothing, so he sighed. He walked forward. "Hey kid, what are you doing?" one of the heroes exclaimed. Izuku looked at him with a glare that can freeze the blood of psychopaths. "Your job." The words rang out before he vanished and reappeared with Bakugo over his shoulder, and before anyone could blink, the sludge villain was splattered and rain started pouring down like the heavens were following someone's orders, extinguishing all the flames. All in all, everyone was surprised until a medic snapped out of it and picked up the kid, and everyone else started cleaning up the mess while the medics started helping the hostage. Then everyone began cheering for the kid that saved the hostage, and All Might was in the crowd, shocked and mad that someone did this, and had such power, and mad because he couldn't do anything. Back with Izuku, he was walking home/restaurant. When he got there, he greeted his mom. "Hey mom, need help?" he asked her as she was cooking and customers were around. She looked up and smiled. "Hey honey, how was school?" she asked sweetly. He smiled at her as well. "It was normal, although I might have to call you A. And tell them I'm not going. I'm so dumb, I put you A and not I," he told her, and she sighed. Leave it to the overpowered lazy greatest cook to do something so stupid. Luckily she had a backup plan since she knew this would happen. "I gave them application for you." "Good thing I did, or you would have had to go to a regular school," she said as he sighed of relief. They smiled and got to work. What they didn't know is that I already had too many students and couldn't afford another one, so he had to go to U.A. UA confrontation. No one's POV. It's been 13 months since the incident. Izuku was sad that he couldn't get into IA because there was too many people, but he didn't care. He can still go to a regular high school, so he can still work with his mom, and work he did. As of right now, he was cooking up a storm. People were coming in more and more as he cooked. Everyone was enjoying food and having a good time. His mom was out meeting a friend, so he had to run the restaurant all by himself. But then came in what looked like a skeleton-looking man. A little bear thing that Izuku had decided to call Chimera since it's a mix of different animals. And a tired-looking man in bandages, and they all looked professional, and the tired guy had a scarf just like Eraserhead, so he knew instantly he was the hero, which probably means hero business. But Izuku doesn't care, he'll treat them as regular customers. "Hello, may I know how many in the party?" he asked, sweating from cooking so much. He finally got done serving everyone there. The heroes looked at him surprised since he's young and already working. They looked at him suspiciously. The kid applied to UA's hero course and got full marks on the mock tests and didn't show up to the entrance exam. Also, he didn't go and beg UA to give him a chance for missing it, so Nisa took personal interest because never has this happened before. "Yes, hello, we would like to speak to you about your high school," Nisa said, checking him out. Izuku raised a brow. "I'm sorry, but you'll have to an hour after closing time. I'm still at work. Now do you guys want to eat or just leave and wait?" Izuku asked them. The three looked at each other and nodded. "Table for 3, please," the Chimera said to the UG boy. Izuku nodded and led them to a booth where they sat down. Izuku pulled out a notepad. "And what can I get you tonight?" he asked them as he brought out a pen. Nisa looked at the menu. "Can I get the special?" he asked as he saw a fried cooked fish with shrimp all around with chips and guacamole on the side. "Sea salad all right, and you sirs?" he asked the other two. All Might and the tired-looking guy looked at the menu. "What are these?" All Might asked, pointing to what looks like meat inside a soft corn tortilla with veggies in it, and cucumbers on the side and salsa also. Izuku looked at it. "That is called the Mexican special, and those are tacos, a delicacy originated from Mexico. My customers say they love it," he explained to the skeleton-looking man. All Might nodded and ordered it. "All right, one Mexican special coming right up. And you, mister?" Izuku asked the third man. The third man looked at the menu. "Can I get the omelette soufflé?" he asked as Izuku nodded. "All right, your food will be right up," he said, going to the kitchen, leaving the three to their business. The three men watched as he started heating up the pans and pots and started frying, grilling and cutting like a pro. I wonder why he didn't show up to the entrance exam or even asked for a redo. He's interesting," Nisa said, looking at the young man as he prepared their foods like a pro. The tired guy looked at both of them. "Oh right, he's in full-on bandages now, so he has to open the bandages to see, which took a bit of help from Nisa. He probably just thought we wouldn't give him a chance," he said as he watched Izuku flip his omelette into a gelatinous substance covered with a red sauce. Then he saw him sprinkle veggies on the tacos and put lime and salt on the fried and fish. Their mouths started to water at the smell as he brought the 3 plates to them. As he put the plates down, their mouths overflowed and you could visibly see the drool. They all took one bite, and their taste buds were hit with an explosion of taste. They felt like the heavens came down and started great feeding them. They felt like they were in paradise, or even better, the heavens themselves as they ate. They didn't realize that they already ate the food so quick. They looked up and saw Izuku was already cleaning tables, and they also didn't notice that people were gone, and it was closing time. He locked the door and picked up a chair and sat down at the end of the hero's booth. "So you wanted to talk to me?" he asked, putting the chair backwards and sitting on it with his arms on the backrest. They stared at him and blinked. "Oh, alright, we were wondering why didn't you show up to the UA entrance exam since you filed to register for it and take the exam." The chimera thing said. Izuku looked at him. Well, he doesn't know what it is, with a confused face since he didn't remember anything like that. But then it hit him that he forgot that he signed up for UA by accident. "Oh that, yes, sorry about that, I signed up for the wrong school and took the wrong exam. I'm sorry for you inconvenience," Izuku said, sheepishly rubbing the back of his neck. The 3 looked at him shocked. The kid didn't even want to be in UA and took the wrong exam because of the confusion. "Wait, so you don't want to be a hero?" the skinny All Might said. Izuku turned to him and eyed him since his structure is not normal. "Not really. I've actually been wanting to be a cook, but I can't since my form for cooking school is over, so I'll just work here with my mom," he said, nonchalantly pulling out a lollipop. Before anyone can do anything, Izuku's phone rings. He picks it up and it's his mom. "Oh hey mom, what's up?" he asked her over the phone. "Hey Izuku, just telling you that I'm going to close the store for a while." At that he froze. Why would she close the store? He thought. "It may be sudden, but I'm sending you to UA. Be ready to be a hero, kid," she said, hanging up. At that he slammed his head on the table, which surprised the 3 people. He looked up at everyone. "I guess I'm going with you guys since my mom is sending me to you," he said, smiling slightly. They looked at him and blinked. VVMM. Nisa suddenly got a message. He looked at his phone and it read Izuku midoriya, signed in to be a hero. Nisa smirked and nodded. "Alright, everything will be sent tomorrow for you, and the next day we will test out your quirk," he said as Izuku nodded and led them out. Izuku looked up while the 2 other people were still processing what just happened as they left with Nisa on the bandages guy's shoulder. Izuku went upstairs and fell asleep, wondering why his mom closed the shop. First day at UA. Izuku's POV. I was walking to UA in a hoodie, some joggers and some Jordans. My hoodie was black, my sweats were gray and my Jordans were red with light blue at the bottom. He going there because they were going to test his quirk out, by going against some robots, or that's what they told him. So he just complied since his mom wants him to be a hero for some reason. As he got there was the principal of UA, which he found was named Nizu, All Might, and the guy in bandages, which was weird as he didn't even know his quirk, and a guy with a spiky hair, but not like normal, it's just one big ass spike, and he figured it was Present Mike. Anyways, he stopped in front of the group, and the group looked at him weird since he was in normal clothing and not like a track suit. "Let's get this over with, okay?" Izuku said with a blank tone, surprising Present Mike since no one has been like this, with not a single ounce of enthusiasm. But not the others since they knew he didn't want to be a hero in the first place. "Kid, why aren't you exited? You're going to be a hero," Mike exclaimed, making the others flinch at the volume. Izuku on the other hand looked at him blankly. "No," he said with a bored tone, and then he walked away from the loud Tweety bird and walked in front of Nisa. "Can we go now?" he said, a bit sleepy now. Nisa nodded in exasperation and led him to the city ground B, while Aizawa and Mike left to their classes. All Might followed the bear and the teenager, eyeing them closely as they were both intriguing, especially Nisa since how he is shaped, since he's never seen anything like him, and the boy because he looks like he isn't just going into a fight with big-ass robots. Izuku's POV. I walked into what looked like a city which had cars and everything else a city had. It was weird, to be honest. A city within a city. It felt off. Anyways, I heard Nisa's voice snap me out of my thoughts. Okay, Izuku, you will be fighting villain robots, the amount of points you get when you destroy them. You will find out as they are painted on the bodies of the robots. You will have 5 minutes to gather all your points you can. Okay, ready? Go. Nisa exclaimed as I walked to the middle of the city where robots started swarming all around me, left, right, front, behind, even on rooftops. I looked at and smirked. I cracked my neck and knuckles. Show time. I said before using my enhanced strength to appear in front of a group of robots and punched, and in a second they were vaporized. I vanished again and kept destroying each and every one of them, not even counting how many I got, cause I knew I already passed since I destroyed literally almost all of them, until I felt the ground rumble. I thought it was an earthquake since we are in Japan, until I heard screeching from behind me. I slowly turned around to see a 100-foot or more robot the size of a almost Udate. But then it came at me with its giant fist, and I immediately snapped out of my trance-like state and jumped away. I landed and activated my quirk. I felt power surging through me as I charged it up, sparks leaving my body as I was overflowing with power. Then suddenly I let out the wild flow of energy. Crackatham. Boom. Was all I heard until I saw the head of the ginormous robot was clean off. I smiled. Oh, how I love lightning. I also saw that it had been 5 minutes already, so I shouted. So am I done? Line break. No one's POV. 5 minutes earlier. All Might and Nizu were standing there waiting as Izuku finally got to the fake city. When he did, Nizu picked up the mic so he can tell Izuku what to do. Okay, Izuku, you will be fighting villain robots. The amount of points that you will be getting when you destroy them, you will find out as they are painted on the bodies of the robots. You will have 5 minutes to gather all the points you can, okay? Ready? Go. Nizu exclaimed as they watched Izuku walk in the middle of the city and robots kept surrounding him. Nizu smiled widely because he wanted to see what his quirk was. He will pull back the robots if and when he sees the student failing, and All Might looked nervous. He didn't expect Nizu to go all out like that, but what surprised him is that he saw the same power he saw 11 months ago when Bakugo got captured by that slime villain. As Izuku destroyed all the robots in a matter of minutes, he turned to Nizu, who was grinning from side to side. Ear to ear? Nobody knows. Anyways, his heart almost stopped when Nizu clicked the big red button. Not a big red button. The big red button. This big red button summons a 0-pointer bigger than Yue. But something happened that shocked both All Might and Nizu. You see, they thought he had a crazy powerful enhancement quirk, but he started crackling with energy as he dodged a hit from it. Crackatham. Boom. Their jaws were on the floor as they saw him defeat an almost undefeatable robot, and he hasn't even broken into a sweat. So am I done? Izuku screamed out loud. Nizu grinned widely. Interesting, he muttered as All Might was missing his jaw. The power he shown was massive. He was probably as strong or even stronger than himself, and in his prime. Nizu grabbed the mic. Okay, Izuku, it looks like you passed. Good job. Now you go to room 1H for your uniform. Change and you will get your schedule from Aizawa in class 1A, so good luck. He said through the mic as Izuku nodded and started walking out of the fake city. Nizu turned to All Might with a wide grin that made him shiver. I think we have a promising hero in training this year, he said, jumping off his seat, walking away as All Might followed him. With Izuku. As Izuku grabbed his uniform, he walked into the bathroom slightly close to 1A so he can just walk to it. He took off his clothing and begins to put on his pants, then his button-up shirt that fit him perfectly, and his jacket that felt stuffy. He put on his tie perfectly, since his mom taught him how to do it. Izuku then put on his shoes, tied a knot really tight on both of them, and patted himself everywhere as he walked out with a bag and books that was provided to him since he didn't know that he was coming to the school or even getting in. Anyways, Izuku walked and walked and walked and walked and walked until he finally found 1A. He knocked on the door waiting for a response, tapping his foot. But it wasn't long before he heard a faint come in which got his attention as he opened the door. When he walked in, he saw the bandaged man who he thinks his name was Aizawa? Then he looked at the kids and they were confused, blushing and angry. You can guess who that is. Izuku turned to Aizawa since he doesn't know what to say, and the latter seemed to notice his silent message. Class, this is your new classmate. Go on, introduce yourself. Aizawa said in a bored tone. Izuku nodded to the teacher as a gesture of his gratefulness and said to himself, Okay, well, here goes nothing. He turned to the class as they were drilling holes with their stares. Hi, my name is Izuku Midoriya. It's nice to meet you all. Let's be friends. He said with a bow, but in a kind of monotone/bored voice. Everyone stared at him and looked like they accepted him, while some looked nervous. Aizawa nodded. Okay, any questions for Midoriya? He asked his class. They looked nervous since his voice sounded like he wanted to leave the spotlight. But one guy that had dual hair, white and red, he also had dual eyes and a scar on his left eye. He raised his hand. What is your quirk? He asked in a monotone voice. Bakugo seemed to be interested in this since he was trying to ignore the nerd trying to figure out how he did what he did 11 months back. Anyways, everyone bore their eyes on him again. Izuku simply looked at them. It's hard to explain, but I'll tell you basically is that it is a lightning-based quirk that lets me do anything lightning can do, he said, disappearing in lightning and reappearing in an empty seat. Leaving everyone, even Bakugo, gobsmacked since he never showed it to anyone. Deku, Bakugo yelled, getting up and running at him, jumping from desk to desk. Tell me how you did that or you're dead, he said with sparks in his hands. He didn't get far as wind pressure knocked him back right into Aizawa's captured ear. If you looked closely, you'd see Izuku with his hand flick to the right and his head down, but no one noticed this but Aizawa. His face was shocked behind the bandages. Sit down, Bakugo, he said in a dangerous tone. Bakugo complied as they got on with the lessons as he put Bakugo in his seat and everyone was confused at what just happened. Time skip. Izuku's POV. As class ended, which was a pretty interesting class, as I packed my stuff I saw that there was a crowd at the door, so walked to it, and what I see is a purple-haired mini Aizawa, which I found funny, but I didn't care. I wanted food since my stomach was killing me, so I just jumped over them and ran my fastest, which got me there in seconds. I walked up to the hero Lunch Rush. Can I have some katsudon? I asked him excitedly. You see, Lunch Rush is my favorite hero, or my only hero. His cooking surpasses most cooks in the world and he cooks where people don't get food. Now that's a hero. Helping the people, not defeating villains, then not even helping the people. Lunch Rush looked at me and chuckled at my amazement. He cooked it up and gave it to me. I'm guessing you're new? He asked me in amusement. I nodded sheepishly as he chuckled more. Here as a gift for being new. It's free plus you're the first one here, he said, handing him a plate. I had stars in his eyes and thanked the man, and I walked away and sat down, but he remembered what he said and looked around, and true enough, no one was here. Oh well, I thought as I started eating. Line break. Nobody's POV. While eating, people kept flowing into the lunchroom. Izuku was too busy eating to even notice. A blonde guy stood up and walked beside him and hit him by accident upside the head. He was cut off by looking at his plate as it was dented. And Izuku didn't seem to notice, but if he did, Izuku didn't show it. This seemed to anger the blonde. He was cut off again by getting a karate chop to the neck. I'm sorry about him. I don't know why he's like this, a girl said. Izuku turned to her and his heart skipped a beat. He saw a girl more beautiful than he's ever seen. She had beautiful orange hair and eyes that reflect his, which captivated him. Her skin was as smooth as porcelain. She blushed at what he said next. Beautiful, he said as the girl was a tomato. Izuku realized what he said and blushed as well. I'm as sorry, my name is Izuku Midoriya. I'm new here, class 1A actually, and your name is? He asked kindly. She blushed more at how smooth he talked, while the girls at his table were a bit jealous and the guys were awestruck except for two. I would give you 2 guesses who they are. The girl, blushing, finally talked. Hi, my name is Itsuka Kendo, class 1B, she said, blushing hard. Then the bell rang, making the now named Itsuka curse in her mind, wanting to talk to the cute guy. Well, I'd love to talk more. Here is my number. I'll see you later, he said, gentlemanly, kissing her hand while giving her a piece of paper, walking away, leaving an awestruck room and a jealous boy, plus a jealous girl. Itsuka dropped the blonde, running away squealing as she found a new crush and he found a new interest. Sports Festival Part 1, Race. Izuku's point of view. This past week was one of my best/worst weeks I have ever had. I got into a school I never wanted, have to go to the same school as my childhood bully, but hey, At least I find it fun, and I also found someone that looks absolute gorgeous and amazing. We texted all night and went to lunch together at times. I noticed 2 people glaring at me, which was annoying, and one girl was glaring at Kendo. She looked oddly familiar though. She kinda of looked like the girl I used to date back in middle school. She had vines as hair, but she left me because her family arranged a marriage for her, and she accepted it immediately. I was sad for about a month but got over it. Anyways, as soon as I got to school, the teacher, who I actually got right about being Eraserhead, told us that the sports festival was going to happen and we had 1 week for practice for it. I always practiced, so this was a breeze, but I also found out that Kendo was also into martial arts. We did some practice matches. Well, mostly me making a fool of her and her glaring at me. Hey, if I try I might actually kill someone, so I hold back almost everything I have. Don't judge. I actually got a little crush on her when I helped her on stances. She wanted to practice it on me, but she messed up and tackled me to the ground. She landed on top of me in a hexual position, which got the result of both of us blushing. We couldn't see eye to eye for 3 hours. She was amazing to say the least. We trained for a week. I also cooked some food for her. It was amusing to see her fall in love with the food. It was also funny when she asked for more. It was like a puppy wanting attention. Now I am on my way to school as fast as I can. It was hard to wake up without the sound of your mom cleaning and setting up the kitchen downstairs, so I was going as fast as I can. I flashed to the classroom, but when I got there it was empty. I face-palmed myself, forgetting that it was the day of the sports festival, which was surprising considering I was preparing for it. I sped through the halls as I changed into the P uniform. As soon as I got there I stopped and a gust of wind exploded out of where I was standing, almost blowing everyone back. 30 seconds ago. No one's POV. Everyone was waiting for the signal of the school to tell them they should head out to the stage. They were talking about what the challenge is going to be. I wonder what the first challenge is going to be. A muscly guy with giant lips wondered. This person was Rikido Sato, grade 9 Quirk, Sugar Rush. The 2 guys next to him, one was tall, had white hair and a mask on while having 6 arms. He was Mizo Shoji, grade 9 Quirk, dupli arms. This means he can make his arms into any other body part. The other guy had a dark bird head instead of a human one. He was Tokoyami Fumikage, grade 9 Quirk, Dark Shadow, which was basically a living being in him, except it was a shadow with mouth and yellow eyes. No matter what comes, we have no choice but to deal with it, Tokoyami said calmly, before the others could respond. A blue-haired guy with glasses, squared head, a bit tall, opened the door. He was Tenya Lita, grade 9 Quirk Engine. This quirk allows the user to produce automobile exhausts that make the user go at superhuman speeds. Everyone was about to head out when a gust of wind just appeared out of nowhere and almost blew everyone back. And in the middle came a voice. "I'm sorry, I forgot to set my alarm," the voice said. Everyone turned and it was the one and only Izuku Midoriya. Everyone stared in shock as he wasn't there before. It was almost like he teleported. Everyone shook off their shock and looked at him before Lita exclaimed, "We are going to be late, let's go." Everyone nodded and turned to follow him. While everyone was walking, they were glancing at Izuku, curious how strong he was. They only witnessed how fast he was. Bakugo, on the other hand, was wondering how did the dumb useless Deku manage to hide the fact that he had a quirk for so long. He was angry, no beyond angry. How could a worthless Deku beat him? He turned to Izuku only to see him at the back of the group, since he doesn't have any friends at the moment. As they arrived, they could hear the voice of President Mike. "Andy, we have the class that survived a villain attack, freshman class 1A. And at that, they came out. Everyone looked towards them and they gained a booming of cheers from the crowd. Izuku was confused. He didn't know that this class was attacked by villains. He groaned in annoyance. "We also have the other hero class who hasn't had much spotlight, freshman class 1B. And at that, another class came out of another hall. Leading them, he saw, made Izuku's heart skip a beat by just seeing her. There she was. Itsuka Kendo, grade 9, Quirk Giant Fist. It allows the user to grow their or shrink their fist at any size. To Izuku, though, she was a goddess. She turned and saw him staring. She blushed and waved. He blushed too but smiled, and waved. A guy next to her with what it looked like to him was a mask, saw it and glared at him. He ignored the guy and kept walking. "And the general classes C, D, and E." As he said that, The purple-haired guy Izuku saw at the door of his class was walking out with him. The hero support classes F, G, and H. At that he also saw the girl he saw at the workstation where he got his uniform. She was nice but also a whack job in his opinion. At this point other classes appeared. Also the business classes I, J, K. At the kids from those classes appeared, the roars from the cheers were deafening from the sound of it. The whole stadium was cheering. It was obvious that this event was a huge one. At that a seriously hexy-dressed woman came out. This was the R-rated heroine, midnight age, 30, Quirk somnambulist. User is able to make his or her opponents to sleep but it is more effective on men. She pointed her whip at the camera and winked. A lot of the men in the crowd were going crazy over her. Some of the students were blushing. One of them was a red-haired boy. "Why does Ms. Midnight have to wear stuff like that?" he said, trying to look everywhere but her. This was Ijiro Kirishima, grade 9, Quirk hardening. Allows the user to harden any part of his body to the point that it's stronger than steel. Izuku wanted to make friends with him. But the guy always hung out with Bakugo, so he thought he was one of the Pomeranian's usual lakeys. The guy next to her with yellow hair and a black lightning bolt in his hair. Which is Izuku wondered if it had to do with his quirk. Anyways he was blushing too but wasn't looking away. "Is that even supposed to be appropriate?" he asked curiously. This was Denki Kaminari, grade 9, Quirk electricity. This allows the user to use electricity to stun his opponents but use too much and it will overcharge the brain. Everyone agreed with him, but a purple ball-headed guy. This was Minoru Mineta, grade 9, Quirk pop-off. It allows the user to grow balls that can get stuck to everything but the user, who Izuku decided to call Grape. He just gave a thumbs up per Izuku though while ignoring him. Before anyone could smack the grape-headed guy across the head, Midnight decided to talk. "Now it's time for some word from freshman class representative, Katsuki Bakugo." She yelled into the mic. Izuku, who was looking at her with a bored expression, suddenly face-palmed. The girl next to him that had pink hair and skin, this was Mina Ishido, grade 9, Quirk acid. It allows the user to produce acid that can melt anything but her. As Bakugo went up the stairs, she went to ask him, as she was the only one brave enough to talk to him. "A midoriya, right? Why did you just face-palm?" she asked him curiously. As she said that, Bakugo started his speech. "All I have to say is that I am going to win this thing," he said before getting off the podium while Lita reprimanded him. Everyone blinked, and at this time Izuku answered the stunned Mina. "That's why," he said in an annoyed tone. Not a minute later everyone started to say things about him. "Of course it's from the 1A class, they're probably all like that. Of course it's the hero class," thinking they're better than everyone, but some guy actually yelled. "I will defer you," said a guy with some type of mask, same guy that was glaring at him, which annoyed him. Izuku turned to Kendo and she looked annoyed. He smiled sheepishly and mouthed, "We're not all like that." At this she smiled. All the annoyance she had was gone now. She smiled and mouthed back, "I know." He laughed. Before he could respond, Midnight continued. "Now for the first task." Cue the hologram behind her that kept rolling until it said obstacle race. "An obstacle race. The students shall run a lap around the stadium avoiding dangerous obstacles. Now students, go to the start line please," she said, pointing her whip at the start of the lap, which was a hallway as well. Everyone nodded and went there. As they entered they waited. Kendo met up with Izuku. Much to the irritation of both classes, they ignored the two classes and kept talking. "Are you nervous about the race?" he asked her while cocking his head to the side, looking at her as she was shaking a bit. She found the act cute. "Yeah, a bit, so much people," she said with a shiver. Izuku laughed and placed his hand on her arm. "Just focus on what you're supposed to do. Just finish this race in around the 40s at least, by the looks of it. You'll be qualified to whatever the hell we're doing next. Just think about finishing before, okay? I sure as hell know you can do it," he said, encountering her. She nodded. She was about to say something when the voice on the speaker rang. "Get ready." At this everyone got in position to run. "Get set go," the voice said, and the doors opened. Before anyone could run, ice covered the entrance and a bi-haired guy was sliding across ice across. This was Shoto Todoroki, grade 9, Quirk half ice, half fire. This allows the user to produce ice from their right side and fire from their left. But before anyone could react, boom, it shattered and wind pressure was created. Zoom. Izuku exploded in a burst of speed, passing Todoroki, almost knocking him down. He burst through the robots who couldn't even react. He jumped over the canyon and blasted through the mines, and when he stopped at the finish line, everyone's eyes were out of their sockets as Izuku's stop made so much wind pressure that it made some people float 5 inches above their seats. Everyone felt had one collective thought fast, while the staff had other thoughts. That's the same as All Might / my speed, they thought. Even All Might had the same thought, and Mike finally snapped out of it and yelled. And the first two crossed the finish line in record time of 2 seconds, Izuku midoriya. And at that everyone went wild, cheering his name. Izuku had to be lying if he said he didn't like this at least a little bit. Now all he had to do was wait. Time skip. As Izuku was falling asleep at the edge of the stage, the first one started coming, and it was Shoto Todoroki. Coming next was Bakugo, then Lita, then the rest started coming. When Izuku saw Kendo come in at 13, he smiled and ran to her, so fast that no one saw him move. He just appeared. "Itsuka, you made it," he said happily. Itsuka jumped at least 10 feet. When she landed, she glared at him, while he had a cheeky grin. She playfully smacked his arm while he laughed. "Don't scare me like that," she exclaimed as he laughed. He was about to respond, someone bumped into her. They turned to the person, and it was the vine-haired girl that reminded Izuku of his ex. "Hey, what's your problem, Shiozaki?" Itsuka exclaimed. The vine-haired girl just scoffed. Itsuka turned to Izuku only to see him frozen. "Midoriya, what's wrong?" she asked, wondering why he was frozen in time basically. "Did you say as Shiozaki?" he asked incredulously. She nodded and asked why. "She is my..." You see, that was Ibara Shiozaki, grade 9 Quirk vine. It allows the user to control vines from her head that grows out of her scalp instead of hair, and she is also Izuku's ex, he said, wondering why she was here. She never said anything about wanting to be a hero. Itsuka looked at him stunned. Shiozaki never told her anything about him or the dating life. No wonder she would glare a bit when he talked about him to Setsuna. She is so stoopy flick. She was cut off from her musings by someone flicking him. She rubbed her forehead and looked up. She saw Izuku smiling cheekily. "Don't think too much about it. She left me a while back. Don't know why she's mad at you though," he said, smiling. She laughed. Of course he would be oblivious to when someone's jealous or when someone likes him, that being her. She finally decided to confess her feelings after the festival, so she waited a bit longer to try and kiss him. She was about to speak when Midnight spoke. "And that ends the first task. Congratulations to the ones who passed qualifications, and to the rest, try better next time. Now for the next task, a cavalry battle, and the points go from when you were placed. Last one has 5 and it keeps going up by 5, but here's a twist. The one that came in first gets 1,000,000 points. She exclaimed. Izuku could feel the glare he was getting. He learnt long ago, when things get tough, losers say why me, but winners say try me. Cavalry battle. No one's POV. Swipe as many headbands to gain more points. Stolen headbands are used on the neck. Even if your team doesn't have any more headbands, you can keep playing until time's up. Midnight said as she finished explaining. Momo Yaoyorozu had a look of understanding. It's anyone's game then, she said to herself. But Rikido Sato heard her and said, yeah, because there are 42 contestants, there will be 10 or 12 teams fighting on the field the entire time. That gave Yaoyorozu her answer. Aoyama popped his head in and said, sounds hard, with a worried face. So if you lose your headband at the beginning, you'll have enough time to make up a plan, Mina Sabito said with a thoughtful look to the girl next to her. I don't know, Mina, let's wait and see how the teams turn out before we start strategizing, Tsuyu Ajiri said with a finger on her mouth. Izuku, on the other hand, was just leaning on Kendo with his arm on her head while 2 people were glaring at them. This is going to be rough. You may use your quirks as much as you like, but you will still have to follow the rules. Make a team fall on purpose and I'll slap you with a red card and you will be disqualified. A hologram with 1,500 hours written on it appears. Now you have 15 minutes to get your teams up. I suggest you start now, Midnight exclaimed, finishing the explanation. Izuku turned to Kendo and smiled. Want to be on my team? He asked, smiling. Girl in question blushed at his smile. No matter how many times he does it, it still makes her heartbeat go up. But she smiled back and said, sure, while punching him lightly. But before she could laugh, she held her hand and turned red. Why do you have to be like steel? She exclaimed, making Izuku laugh hard. He was on the floor laughing his ass off while she was pouting at him. In the midst of their banter, someone came up to them. This was Mina. Hey Midoriya, can I join your team? She asked him while kind of having a confused face. Wondering what happened, Izuku looked at Kendo if she wanted to. Kendo shrugged and nodded. Izuku smiled and turned to Mina while getting up. Sure, we'd love to, he said while having his arm on Kendo's head. It seemed that it was his favorite spot. Mina smiled and was about to talk when she felt a looming aura next to her. She jumped when she saw a vine-haired girl next to her with an unnervingly sweet smile. Hello Izuku, and may I join your team? She asked, still unnervingly sweet. There was 3 reactions. There was a scared Mina because of her creepy smile, there was confused Izuku because even when they dated, she never called him that, and there was a fuming Kendo, because she knows damn well what she wants. Izuku started to sweat because Kendo was releasing the same looming aura. Izuku looked at her with a "It's your choice" type of face. Kendo pondered that before she saw Tokoyami all alone. She nodded towards him. Izuku turned and saw Tokoyami. He turned back to Ibara Shiozaki and said, I'm sorry, but our 4th member is over there. Please excuse us. And with that they all but vanished towards Tokoyami, leaving a fuming Ibara in their wake. Since they only had 3, I swear I'll get you back from that home wrecker, my love, she thought evilly. Izuku, Itsuka and Mina walked up to Tokoyami. Hey Tokoyami, wanna be on our team? Mina asked since she's the only one that really knows him. Tokoyami turned to her and then to the other 2, and nodded, meaning he did. Yay, all we need is one more, Mina said, exited. Izuku was looking around looking for someone, but he then felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned around and saw a girl with a bunch of gadgets. Can I help you? He asked her in a polite tone. She smiled brightly and asked, a bit too loud, Can I join your team? While bouncing, Izuku was taken aback by the loud voice and bouncy attitude. The other's sweat dropped as well. Izuku looked at Itsuka and she shrugged and mouthed, why not? Izuku turned back to the girl with a smile. Of course, my name is Izuku Midoriya, and you are? He asked with manners his mom drilled into him. She smiled as well. Name's Mayhatsum, at your service. I want you to try out my babies, she said with an exited face. Everyone on the team recoiled at that. What did she mean by babies? They all looked at her like she was crazy. Hatsum? What did you mean by babies? Izuku asked with a sweat drop. The others leaned in wondering why too. She smiled even more. Well, my inventions, of course, she said, pointing at her utility belt. She didn't know, but everyone else gave a sigh of relief. It gave them a bit of scare. Anyways, Izuku smiled at her bashfully. Sure, why not? Q had some trying to pull them out. But let's wait until after the game starts, okay? He asked, making her deflate, which surprised the group. Okay, she said gloomily, making them sweat drop. Izuku sighed, thinking this was gonna be a headache. They waited for a few more minutes until the timer was up for the team selection. Midnight let Izuku's team be a team of 5 because of the odd number in all of the teams. As of now, though, President Mike was announcing the game. Okay, first years, I hope you're happy with your teams. The final countdown will begin. 3, 2, 1. Begin, Midnight exclaimed, cutting off President Mike. This is basically a battle for 10,000 points. Testa said as his team ran towards Izuku. I am going to get those points, Midoriya, Toru Hagakure exclaimed as they both ran at her. Izuku looked at Kendo, and she gave him a thumbs up. He smirked and tapped both Mina and Hatsum as they were in the back. Hatsum activated some boots while Mina threw her slimes, and as soon as they started, zoom was all the other teams saw and heard as well. They turned and saw Izuku sliding at great speeds with his team. They kept dodging and swerving every time a team got close. As soon as they dodged a team, though, an iceberg appeared. The person that shot it was Todoroki. Wishing that would stop him long enough for them to follow the plan. Izuku's team was nervous though seeing the iceberg, all but Izuku. All he did was cock back a fist and boom, the ice shattered and burst of winds sent some teams tumbling. The stands used their arms to cover themselves as the winds kept blowing everyone away. Izuku's team recoiled as they looked up to him. He just shook his head and told them to move forward, and that's exactly what they did. From now until the end of the time, no one could catch them, and if they tried, they got slapped away by both Itsuka and Tokoyami. But for Todoroki's ice, however, all it took was for Izuku to cock back a fist and destroy the icebergs immediately. And time's up.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.